The night I want to tell you about, I almost didn't survive it. Not because I was in danger, because of what fell out of a pocket a pacifier. My name is Hannah. I spent 40 years in operating rooms and care homes across Europe. 3 continents, thousands of lives, night shifts that never seemed to end. I am not a therapist. I am not a life coach. I am someone who was in the room when people ran out of time. And what I heard in those rooms, I can't unhear. This channel is those things. I was still in my surgical training, already a qualified nurse, but in the middle of 2 additional years specializing in the operating theater. It was a large university hospital in central Germany, one of the big trauma centers. We had been operating through the night without stopping. 10 surgical suites emptied out. Instruments used, containers running low, dressings, sutures, everything running thin. The whole team was exhausted in a way that goes beyond tired. We had been on duty since 7 of the morning before. Back then, 24-hour shifts were still normal. 7 in the morning to 7 the next morning. That is no longer permitted, and for good reason. Then the doors opened. A heavily pregnant woman was pushed into the theater, unconscious, under resuscitation. I remember thinking, very briefly, I have never assisted in an emergency cesarean. But that was not the first priority. First, the neurosurgeons needed to relieve the pressure on her brain. A drainage, a borehole, immediate. We began. The midwife monitored the baby's heartbeat. The gynecologists arrived. Then the trauma team. The room filled with specialists, everyone tense because it was not looking good. While my colleagues worked at her head, I had to cut away the rest of her clothing. And then, from the pocket of her jeans, something fell into my hands. A pacifier. In 20 years of nursing, I had never once felt nauseous in an operating theater. That night I did. Because if there was a pacifier, there was another child, somewhere, waiting. We could not save her. We could not save the baby she was carrying. The emergency cesarean came too late. What we did not know until later, in the room next door, a small girl had been brought in. Her daughter, already being cared for. She survived. By the time morning came, the second shift arrived and we began to clear the theaters together. I was pushing a trolley of used instrument trays into the corridor when I saw him. A man, moving through the hallway, crying, completely undone. I stopped. I tried to speak to him, to steady him somehow. And then I understood who he was. He had lost his wife in the night. He had lost his unborn child. And his little daughter, the one with a pacifier in her jeans pocket, she was alive, in the next room. He had not been able to say goodbye. No last words, no last look, nothing. He had left the house the night before, the way we all leave the house. Quickly, probably distracted. Maybe they had argued about something small, maybe not. But he had not said it. He knew that she knew. Of course she knew. But he had not said it. Not that morning. And now there was no morning left. A chaplain came and took over. I don't remember how I got home that day. I sat in my car for a long time. I thought about the pacifier. Such a small thing to carry. She had put it in her pocket that morning, the way mothers do, automatically, without thinking, because her child might need it. She had been thinking about her daughter in her last ordinary moment. And her husband would never know that. He would spend the rest of his life not knowing that. A German mystic from the 13th century, Meister Eckhart, once wrote, "The most important hour is always the present one. The most important person is always the one standing before you. The most important act is always love." He wrote that 700 years ago. I understood it that night, in a corridor, watching a man realize he had run out of time. You may be thinking, that will never happen to me. And I hope you are right. But here is what 40 years taught me. Nobody expects it, not one person. The man in that corridor had not expected it either. So I want to say 3 things to you, not as advice, as something I have carried with me every single day since that night. Say it today, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not after the argument is resolved. Today. Leave every goodbye as though it matters, not because it will be the last one, but because it is the right one. And do not let a disagreement outlast the day, not because conflict is wrong, but because silence is more dangerous than any word ever spoken in anger. I have never left anyone I love without saying it since that night. Not once in over 40 years. Not my partner, not my children. Not even when it felt unnecessary. Especially them. I remember the first time I said it consciously, deliberately, after that night. It felt strange, almost too large for an ordinary goodbye. My partner looked at me differently for a second, and then he understood. We have said it every single day since, not because we are afraid, because we decided that love spoken out loud is not weakness. It is the only thing that stays. I don't know how that man is today. I don't know how his daughter is, the little girl who grew up without her mother because of one ordinary night that stopped being ordinary. I think about them sometimes. I hope they learn to say what they feel. I hope that goes for you too.